This week on RuneScape Retold, a sword of legend, a powerful city-destroying demon, a cult bent on destruction, and a small trash compactor, tasked with cleaning the earth, discovers that something so simple could change the trajectory of the entire world as we know it. Or, well, that might be the wrong Wally. Welcome to RuneScape Retold. This is the podcast where we tell popular stories and unpopular ones from the world of RuneScape. Whether you've spacebarred through every quest and just want to get caught up on what's going on, or you enjoy a good story, we're happy to have you here. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this week's episode. Wally, the Unsung Hero. So, welcome adventurers to another epic tale on RuneScape Retold. Like I said, we're talking about Wally today, not the small trash compactor as I mentioned, but rather the hero of Varrock. One of the most iconic legends in all of Gilnor, but one who I don't think gets enough credit. Wally, a heroic knight who saved the world as we know it. So, I hope you get comfortable and ready as we take a journey together through some of the lore, the dark magic that takes place, the cult of Denath, and of course, the heroism of one man who wasn't going to let the world burn on his watch. It's only fitting that we start, of course, with Wally. His name echoes through Varrock's history, if you were to live there, I'm sure, as the one who saved the city from unspeakable evil. See, he was a simple knight, but fate chose him to face off against Delrith. Delrith was a demon who was summoned by a dark sorcerer named Denath and his cult, the cult of Denath. You see, Denath had always been drawn to the idea of ancient, forbidden magic, and in his obsession, he actually discovered the means to summon a demon that was supposed to be capable of laying waste to entire cities. Denath and his cult were seeking a power beyond comprehension. And this desire and seeking of power led them to no place other than south of Varrock. Now, if you've played the game, or watched someone play the game, or like me, you remember being 7 years old, 12. You remember being 12 years old, excuse me, JX, and playing for the very first time on Miniclip, and you're making that fateful run to try and go sell something in West Varrock. You're trying to make your way to find a new quest, maybe Romeo and Juliet, I don't know. And you turn left instead of right at the cart, and you find yourself walking past hooded figures. Spells start slinging out of nowhere as you watch your character curl in a ball for the very first time. You're sent back to Lumbridge, and the iron armor that was given to you by that nice high-level player is suddenly not in your inventory, and you start to sweat a little bit, and the tears well up in your eyes, and you just think about, sorry. That brought me back. I think we've all had a bad experience with the cult of Denath at some point. The game calls them dark wizards, but there's something much more sinister here. And so I think all of our fear and hatred of those dark wizards is totally founded and right. And honestly, if everybody would do the world a favor and go and slay 10 to 50 of them, consider it your slayer assignment from me, Wimbop, as you listen to this story. But back then, it wasn't up to me, or even up to you. Because this quest wasn't ours. The first battle with Delrith was actually somebody else's completely. Wally, with his legendary sword, Silverlight, a weapon infused with ancient magic which was powerful enough to pierce even the fiercest demon's defenses, he marched south out of Varrock Castle. He marched past all of the people who were standing in fear as the world shook around them as Delrith came. And he stood in front of the towering form of a demon, Delrith, in the ruins of the stone circle, armed with nothing but his silver light and his courage. In the background, the cultists of Denath are chanting, trying to summon extra power. Denath is there, eyes burning as he sees Wally step up to fight his champion. This was no simple feat, but a battlefield of good and evil, of humble and right versus the grasp for power that Denath was fighting for. Denath was willing to give anything for victory. But Wally knew. He had been prepared for this moment. See, not only was the sword he had received from his family heirloom demon-powered, but year after year, generation after generation, there was an ancient incantation passed down in his family. They knew that there would be a day when Delrith would return. They knew that this wasn't the end of the demon, that he was only trapped, and that eventually somebody would want to tap into the power that he promised. And so, he had an incantation prepared. As he battled the demon, it wasn't just a battle of steel versus, flesh? Whatever a demon is. But no, there was powerful magic at play. And with every word that beautiful man Wally said, the demon's power weakened. Until finally, in a decisive final strike, Wally drives Silverlight deep into Delrith, banishing the demon back to the abyss in which he came from, sealing his fate. Triumphant, Wally returns back to the castle, and I believe at this moment everyone thinks they've done it. It's over. The demon is defeated, and peace is restored. This sealed the demon's fate. Yeah, he was trapped. But if there's one thing I've learned, that the bad things don't stay hidden forever. And eventually, the allure of power is so great that someone is coming for it. Legends have a way of lingering. And though Delrith was banished, whispers of his eventual return persisted. Denath, which, not the demon, but the cult guy, his defeat was only temporary. And those who delved deep into dark magic, those who believed in the power of evil, continued to hold that Delrith would rise again. And rise again he did. And that is what brings us to our story. Because while Wally may have been the first to face Delrith, he certainly wouldn't be the last. The quest, which we're going to be talking about, is of course the Demon Slayer, which picks up centuries later, with us, the adventurers, taking up the mantle of Wally's legacy. And so, the quest begins like so many great adventures, with a simple encounter in Varrock Square. As you make your way to the colorful tent to talk to the gypsy for reasons, we recognize that she's not just any fortune teller. As we come in contact with her, it becomes apparent that she knows things. Ancient things, but also future things. And when we come in contact, she has a vision of Delrith's return, that the demon, long thought to be defeated, would be summoned once again by the cult of denath, and that it would be up to us to stop him. before we do that, there's a few things we're going to need. We're going to need that legendary sword which Wally had wielded, which we know still exists. We're going to need that incantation, because without it, the demon will be far too powerful. And so, thanks to the power of gypsies, we know our next step. We're told that Silverlight is under lock and key by surprising one of the city's royal guards. And, like everything in this game, especially early quests, they can't be as simple as walking up to him and saying, I need to kill a demon, can I have demon kill sword? He says yes. Instead, we need to learn that, of course he has the sword, but you're going to have to do a little fetching for it to get, in our hands. Interestingly, it seems like fetch quests were kind of the go-to at the beginning of old school RuneScape, or RuneScape Classic when it was made. And I think it's interesting because now, as we look at quests, one of the things we say about RuneScape quests that make it superior to other MMOs is they're not fetch quests. This is a fetch quest, but there's more to it. Anyways, I digress. Surprising tells us that it won't be simple because it's locked up with 3 keys. And like any person who is smart enough to set up their 2-factor authentication for security purposes, he's not going to keep them all here. No, he was going to make us jump through a couple of hoops to ensure that we really needed to get into the lockbox for the sword. Now, at Delrith's first defeat, Surprising knew that Silverlight needed to be protected. He knew that even though Delrith was gone for now, it would only be a matter of time before someone or something tried to bring Delrith back. And so the key was split into 3 pieces. He held one himself, he gave another to Captain Rovin, the head of Varrock's defenses, and the third would go to an eccentric wizard in the wizard's tower named Treborn. Now, this wasn't just a random decision. Captain Rovin was a stoic, strong, and proud warrior, chosen because of his unwavering loyalty to Varrock. Wally knew that if danger threatened the city again, the head of the guard of Varrock would be there, prepared to defend it. Now, why Wizard Treborn was giving a peace, I couldn't really tell you. He's a bit wild, he's a bit strange, and the truth is, he doesn't make a lot of sense in most of the quests where we interact with him. But it's clear that he has a deep understanding of magic and ancient magic. And it seemed like if anybody was going to guard a piece of the key, why not somebody who would set up the most ridiculous and protective barrier possible, like Treborn. Honestly, Surprising's plan to separate the key so that no single person could easily access the Silverlight is one of the smartest things that he's done. Much smarter than where he left his key, but we'll get to that later. See, this precaution may have been wise in some way, but now it's led to a moment where there's a demon being summoned in the south of Varrock, and we need to travel to Falador and the Wizard's Tower and a sewer, just in hopes that we might be able to get the sword in time to not watch the city be destroyed. With haste now, the gypsy's warning fresh in our minds, our adventure sort of begins for real. First, we head to Varrock Castle, and Rovin is skeptical. Demons, ancient swords, it sounds like the stuff of legends to him, but after hearing about the vision and the seriousness of the situation, he gives his key, with his healthy dose of skepticism, and there's not much more to this one. So, when a third of the puzzle's solved, it's time to head over to the Wizard's Tower to find Treborn. And he's babbling about magical ingredients and the importance of a cleanly robe and thingamawats and thingamajigs. And as you get there, he asks for a few odd tasks like the mass murder of living things to provide him with bones. But this is all in the pursuit of good? Honestly, at this point, I'm pretty convinced that anybody magical in RuneScape is just kind of evil, or at least like pushes death, but we'll come back to that. Now that the murder of 25 people for their bones is complete and you've jumped through the hoops of Treyborn, it's finally time to step back to Varrock, show the 2 keys to surprise in, and receive his key and the sword. Only when we get there, it turns out he doesn't really have it. Because if there's one thing I've learned in life, that even with the best planning, even when you are 2/3 of the way there, accidents happen. People make mistakes. And so, with a little bit of creativity, we managed to receive the 3rd key and open the case, revealing Silverlight, the beautiful, glowing sword, the destroyer of demons. And so, Silverlight in hand, it's time to face Delrith. But before we can go, Gypsy Eris reminds us of something crucial, of the true key to being able to defeat this terrible, terrible fiend. The incantation. Passed down like it was from Wally's grandfather to his father to Wally, it's now passed to us. The ancient words, Carlum Aber, Camarinthum per Chai Gabindo, or similar. See, without the incantation, Silverlight is not near powerful enough for a demon such as Delrith. Not unlike Wally, we march south of Varrock, to the stone circle, to the very place where Denath and his cult had first summoned Delrith, and the ritual is already in progress. Dark magic swirls in the air and Delrith emerges, larger and more terrifying than ever, and our fight begins. Now at this point, you know what needs to happen. And we're going to assume you've showed up prepared for a battle and you're ready to fight a giant demon, so you win. Just like Wally did before, we've saved the city. The people of Varrock can breathe a sigh of relief because their hero has arrived. But even though Delrith has been defeated, even though we hold Silverlight, the symbol of courage and heroism, darkness never really disappears. There's always new threats, and there's always new heroes. Demon Slayer is a timeless tale. This quest is one that bridges ancient lore of Wally to the present-day adventures of our characters. But it's also a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, even when it seems like there's zero chance of survival or victory, there's a way forward. And that with enough bravery, magic, powerful weapons protected by knights and wizards who force you to kill people, and well-timed incantations, we can always save the day. And that brings our adventure for today to an end. I hope you enjoyed this journey through Wally and through the quest itself, where the lines of legend and reality kind of become a blur. Because Wally was just a normal guy, but he was given a unique opportunity. And so, whether you're reliving this quest for the 30th time, or you're just preparing for your first adventure, or you've never actually paid attention to Wally and you had no clue he was a character in this game, I hope you enjoyed. And hope you remember that even the darkest things can be undone when you got the tools to do it. Our NPC of the week this week is Delrith. There's a lot to talk about with this particular NPC, and so I'm just gonna jump into it. Delrith first came into the game in 2001. He's a large red demon with a hulking physique, long arms and claws, and it was like the classic look for a demon. Honestly, if you haven't seen the RuneScape classic sprite That's a Pokemon term. Whatever. If you haven't seen his character model in RuneScape Classic, you should go look at it. Honestly, check the RS3 wiki and look at the years and years of changes that this beast has undergone. But all we need to know is that Delrith is a demon of the combat level of 27, first in the game in 2001, and he comes in with 110 hit points in his classic form. That might be a surprise, because if you, like me, have never gone to the fight without Silverlight, you wouldn't need to know that. See, as soon as you use Silverlight on this poor, hulking demon, he loses almost 100% of his hit points and becomes a 3 HP demon. Essentially, this beast turns into the equivalent of a chicken. Now, as he is simply a chicken, we win. Notably, in the original quests, as well as in Old School, if you attempt to fight him without Silverlight, he actually can't be damaged. He's kind of a symbolic challenge in that if you come with the right tools, with Delrith being one of the first boss battles that probably 99% of us will have ever completed in this game, there is also this feeling of nostalgia that people hold with the boss. Honestly, one of the most memorable parts of my childhood playing this game was seeing him summoned, the fear and then realization that I had it in the bag. Delrith represents actually a key part in RuneScape's history. It represents, for me, the first time where I experienced a challenge in this game, even if it turned out to be much simpler than I expected. And while Delrith himself hasn't maybe played a large role in this game, he's referenced more and more in future quests, especially for you RS3 people. Apparently he's in there somewhere. I'll look into it sometime. But in this humble podcaster's opinion, not unlike my desire to see humble form restored, I would love to see Delrith appear in his full power and see if we could take him down. And that's all for RuneScape Retold this week. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed writing it and speaking it. If you made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you drop a follow wherever you're listening from, whether it's Spotify or Apple or YouTube, and a comment. It actually goes a long way with helping me get this out there. And if you enjoy it and you want to share, please, please do. It means a lot to me. And if you're interested in chatting with me or suggesting episode ideas, you can either do that in the comments or head over to twitch.tv/Wimba and talk to me live. Thanks so much. See you all next week with episode 4, Stake It to the Man.